Great. Thank you.
Drew.
My name's Drew Sanocki. I'm the CEO of a company called PostPilot, which is a direct mail platform for e-commerce. And I'm joined by...
Salem McLaughlin, the senior e-commerce manager at Laird Superfood.
Right. He's one of our favorite customers. Can everybody tell, like, that image of me was AI generated? So that's kind of interesting. Here, I got... I don't know. It looks too intense. I don't know. Like, our marketing person was like, "Oh, we'll do a face shot." And I'm like, "Just do it on AI." I'm going to hand these out so you can sort of look at. Yeah, this is Jones Road Beauty. It's like a mailer that they did, and this one I'm going to talk about in a sec. So, to give you a quick background, I've been running brands for like 20 years, and they. Started my first brand in 99, and they were always sort of these big busted brands that I'd take over and run, like 100 million in revenue, losing 10 was a typical profile. I ran a streetwear brand, and then I ran an automotive aftermarket brand. And at each one, I'd go into the brand and they'd have 5 million people on their customer list, like this really rich audience. And yet I could only communicate with 10% because everybody else had either unsubscribed or never subscribed to my email. And so I just started slinging direct mail to get the other 90%. It was always a pain in the butt. So I built PostPilot to, if you've used Klaviyo, it's like Klaviyo for postcards, like flip whatever's working in email into direct mail. Since then, we've added on acquisition and retargeting. But that's just a little bit of my background. You want to give your background?
Yeah, I can go to my background. So I've been with Laird Superfood. We're a functional coffee and creamer company for about 2 years. And, we make certain products, but we're really in the business of changing food in America, clean, functional ingredients. And we're founded by Laird Hamilton, who's a big wave surfer, and he's a true longevity expert. He's 60 and still surfing big-ass waves, which is cool. And I've been with the company for about 2 years, and when I came in, we were kind of in that position of been around for 8 years, built a decent customer list, but didn't know how to be profitable. And we had 140 headcount. Now we're down to 25. We've cut a lot of things. That first panel really spoke to me. But a big part of that turnaround has been direct mail and other channels that are non-traditional because we had this big customer list, yet we were only reaching a sliver of them through email, and then we had to pay a lot to reach them through meta ads, and it's more cost efficient to do direct mail. So that's why we're up here.
Yeah, that was my first question was like, how did you find direct mail, or why? I guess you kind of, but then maybe talk about the process of like sending your first campaign.
Sure, absolutely. So like I talked about, we had this huge customer list, and yet we were driving about 20% of our revenue through email, but I thought like we're still missing a huge portion, and we've churned a ton of customers over the history of our company. And we also do skew a little bit older. We were talking before this, and I guess demographics don't really matter, but at least for me, I thought, okay, how are we going to reach these slightly older demographic? Let's at least test direct mail. Also, we're a small team. I talked about it. Cost cutting was a big thing. There's 25 of us. We all have to wear a lot of hats, and so I don't have a lot of time. And the nice thing about PostPilot was that it's, they are doing all the creative iteration. They're coming up with the creative, and that was nice on that side. So it was easy to execute for a small team. And so then we tested out this win-back. It went extremely well. We were at a 3x ROAS, and sometimes even higher than that. That was like our average. And what I noticed is that it was beneficial to do it in like 3-month sends. So we can't, for that like win-back campaigns, we weren't doing all the time, but because of budget reasons, we were able to just do it in pulses, but that was just as efficient as doing it an always on. And then we also have now incorporated into our churn win-back flow. The nice thing about PostPilot, and I feel like I'm an ad for PostPilot, but I genuinely believe in the product, is like they integrate with a lot of different systems. So, we have a typical tech stack, Shopify, Klaviyo, Yotpo, all that. They integrate nicely, and so we're able to, with Recharge, who is our subscription, use the PostPilot to specifically personalize anybody that's churned based on the survey of why they churned. And so we're giving specific personalized reasons why somebody should come back. And that's been an always on, and that's been really beneficial.
And so did you, I guess, how do you think about success? Like, what makes it success for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that it does integrate with everything, so I can look at the attribution and trust it. That's another, I think probably everybody is worried about attribution. I'm thinking about it all the time. And the nice thing with direct mail is it's coupon based, and so it's much easier to attribute that and trust that number versus Meta, which I have ways to do that too. But
I would say, like, you shouldn't look at coupon attribution. I think a lot of brands fixate on that. But it's sort of like, I've often put coupon codes on my homepage, and I still have people checking out that don't.
Yep.
The gold standard, I don't know if you guys have done this, is a holdout group.
Yep.
Where you can say, 10% of the people don't get, and I wish Klaviyo, I wish Meta did this, right? Where 10% of the people don't get the campaign in that segment, 90% get it. They both see your Meta ads, they both see your billboards or whatever.
Yep.
And the only difference is the direct mail campaign, and it ideally shows a lift.
Yeah, and we have done a holdout and did show a lift. And at the same time, I also like, because direct mail is more physical, it's a higher redemption rate of those direct mail coupons. So I feel like that's something that I just, as a marketer, appreciate.
Right. I think, like, one of the biggest selling points for me of direct mail as a channel is not always like the ROAS. I wish I could say, like, oh, it's going to give you the highest ROAS you've ever frickin' seen. But you can't say that. It's not like, it might. For me, it's more predictability, which I was running a brand through iOS, 14, that like made it very hard to measure Facebook, right? And every other day, it seems like it's harder to get into the email inbox. So for me, the cost of postage is the same this week as it will be during Black Friday week. And it's just like, if you get a campaign that's working and it's automated, your CFO is going to be very happy, because it's like you're going to see the same ROAS now as you probably will in Q4. So that, like, predictability is a big value prop. And I would say diversification off of Meta, which is probably what everybody leans into as their primary channel.
Yeah, I mean, I would second that. Is that I've been in email marketing for a while now. It's getting harder and harder to attribute. It's, first it was open rates in the last couple of years. Now it's click rates are getting harder. Like, everything is getting harder with email. It's still a huge revenue driver for us, but we can't see exactly, I can't trust it as cleanly as I used to be able to. And that is, again, why I look for diversification, which is direct mail and some other platforms too.
Have you tried retargeting or acquisition?
Just retargeting. And we've had success with retargeting. We did try acquisition a while ago, but I've been talking, and there's a new tool. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Orita. It's a tool that I've used that is using basically a broader swath of data than what I typically can see in Klaviyo and things like that. And I know that you're developing something with them where it's it's showing interested customers that I can't see in Klaviyo, I can't see in Meta, and targeting them. And I've had success with it in email, and now they just launched a partnership with PostPilot. So I'm interested in testing that.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to me about direct mail as a channel is it's like, on retention, I think of it much more like email.
Yep.
On acquisition, it's much more like a Meta ad. And I think this is common knowledge, but a lot of people don't realize, like, you don't need an opt-in to drop a piece of direct mail to somebody, unlike email or SMS, right? So it opens it up on the acquisition side, right? In many ways, it works like Meta. You put a pixel on your site, you can correlate like 30-40% of your traffic, cold traffic, to a physical address. You could drop a piece of print collateral on demand. So it's really like apparel brands do that. Like, we do triggered catalogs. We'll go, their catalog, you visit a store, like a Buck Mason, boom, catalog shoots off in the user didn't opt in for that catalog, but still gets it. That works really well. And then that's sort of high intent prospecting. And then the true prospecting, it's very much like Meta, where we do lookalikes off your customer data. You know, plug in, pull your customer data into the app. We can run a lookalike and find an audience out there that correlates to your own audience, and again, drop a piece of prospecting collateral to that household. There's another flavor of this one that I'm holding up of prospecting that a lot of brands like. It's called a shared mailer, and the idea is that brands, complementary, non-competitive brands share the print piece. And so it really gets I grew up reading like Domino magazine and Dwell, and my favorite part is always like the editor's picks in the beginning where they talk about the new products. So we hired the woman who built that for Domino, and she put this together, and it's curated. This one is for new moms. You can target new moms like in their third trimester. So all these are baby brands and things from different brands. There's probably like 8 to 10 brands in this. And they share the cost, which gets the cost into home down into the, pennies. It's like 5 cents or something, right, Hoff? I'm gesturing at this guy because he's our head of sales right there, Daniel. So this is kind of an interesting product. It's fun. It makes it real easy to experiment with acquisition because it gets the costs down. Have you guys tried a catalog?
We have not.
How do you think differently about like postcards versus catalogs versus trifolds?
Yeah, we have seen success with even just small postcards, so we kind of keep rocking with that. But that's where something like that might be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of brands, I get that question a lot, is like, do we need to do a full catalog? Postcards, I find, are really great on almost like an email proxy, like on retention. You just want to send out a quick offer. Hey, you bought the jeans, here's the sweater that goes with it. Or, you haven't been around for a while, here's 20% off to come back. Catalogs are great for prospecting. They're surprisingly cheap to send out, and you can put a lot of SKUs in them, which increases the odds that somebody's going to convert off a catalog. So that's where I see brands using the catalogs the most is on prospecting. What do you guys do? Are you doing anything on Meta?
Oh yeah.
In the email you run retention, but you're still doing like a lot of the retargeting.
Yeah, we're doing it all.
How do you think about syncing? Do you sync audiences across direct mail and retargeting? Have you ever hit the same customer with or do you worry about hitting the same customer with an ad and direct mail?
No, I mean, as long as the return on ad spend's there, I don't. And I think it can be beneficial to have, we are doing it all because it's beneficial to have omni-channel. And that's what the data shows.
Yeah, we see that too. A lot of brands try to get really anal at, I want this customer to get the SMS, and if she got the SMS, I don't want her to get the email. I don't want her to see my postcard. And I would say in general, that's overkill. All the data we have is that the more messaging the customer gets, the more they spend. So that's an interesting data point. Have you ever tried driving people to store to purchase? Because I know, talk about your business a little bit. Like you are a third?
Yeah, we're a third retail, third Amazon, third LSF.com. So I don't like to send people to retail because I manage e-commerce. I'm a little selfish in that way, but yes, we do have. Our ads are obviously driving in-store sales too.
As a company, are you guys agnostic? Do you care which place people buy?
No, not as a company. We're actually growing retail the most in terms of our growth is going to be through retail, and it does benefit me as well. I see it through post-purchase surveys and things like that, where people come in and see one product in the store and then come in to the website. And that's another reason for direct mail and other things like that, is you can get those people who might have bought once in retail to think about it.
Right. One thing we see is we've got about 10,000 brands on the platform, is that when they want to increasingly, I'm seeing brands want to drive people to store to purchase, brick and mortar store, as opposed to their Shopify. One thing we just did up with Four Sigmatic, just like a coffee.
Our competitor.
You guys you'll be all over this. Is like we A/B tested Whole Foods, right? Like you could geofence just like you can with meta ads around the Whole Foods. And as you know, does anybody sell through brick and mortar? Okay, some of you. So like store velocity is everything. You get into one store, they're testing you. You can drive store velocity. They're going to roll you out everywhere else. So you geofence around, you drop a direct mail campaign to go in and redeem in the store. And the way we A/B test it is typically one store versus a very close other store, and you can calculate the lift to determine whether the direct mail campaign worked. So that one's been kind of an interesting play that I'm seeing recently. What else?
Yeah, what questions are there?
So, are you guys providing a strategy internally about whether it makes the most sense to...
Here, wait, let me give you this microphone. Great question.
So are you guys providing the strategy as well on how to execute this? Because obviously every brand's very...
You're on your own, man. We just flip you the keys.
What degree? Because I feel like the expertise for this is not in-house in most...
Yeah, I know. You've got to be like over 50.
Right.
Like me, who's like to have any familiarity with direct mail. We do. So, I would say it's done. There's a lot of AI that helps, but like our whole philosophy has been like done for you. We realize it's not...
I've seen this work with a lot of like brands that I've worked at in the past, and we've brought it back, and you would think it wouldn't work, and it's really given a huge lift in a way that it drives traffic to the other channels too.
Right.
Also, like how is this priced?
So,
the golden question, I guess.
We've got the first quote. We've got like a design team and an account management team that does all the work for the brands. Did you guys use that?
Yeah, I spoke to that. It was like I said, it's a small team, and I really value having a great account manager and a great creative team that we don't have to use.
On the other hand, we've had plenty of brands that are like, listen, we've done catalogs forever. We're doing our own work. And it's like, okay, you guys could do it. But most brands, I would say, lean on our team. I think it's sort of like SMS was probably 10 years ago, where like your typical marketer was like, I don't know how to use this. And so we're just doing it for them. But the pricing is, we've got a monthly subscription, which unlocks month to month, unlocks the platform. And then it's a per piece send. Yeah, and it varies based on like 4x6 all the way up to catalog. And if you do more volume, that price goes down.
You guys would help like pair with like competitive or non-competitive brands for like that multi-vendor thing?
Yeah, we do the matching for that. Has anybody done inserts before? There. Like, I think of that as like inserts are really hard to pull off logistically. So this is essentially the same thing, and I think it's cheaper. But the same idea is like you're choosing like brands to pair up with.
We actually chose to use your PostPilot versus an insert because of logistically it was easier.
Right.
So we had a certain customer demographic that we brought in through a podcast. We knew who they were, and we're like, we could do inserts, but that's going to be logistically a nightmare. Let's just send PostPilot.
Yeah, everybody's like, I want to do inserts. I was like, just do the, yeah.
Do we have more questions? All right. Right in the front row. Just hold your hand up, and then, we'll go right to you in the green jacket.
So my name is Sal. We're in a pretty niche industry. We do fine writing instruments online, and we've been doing print catalogs since pretty much the inception, which is early 2000s. Started off with the postcards into trifolds, and then eventually led up to a print catalog, which is pretty rare in our industry. We just recently stopped doing it because of the cost of mailing. My question is, you mentioned something about how PostPilot is similar to a Klaviyo for mailings. How granular can you get with the interaction from the customer, like Klaviyo does, for example, with Shopify, where a customer comes in, looks at a bunch of pink pens or plastic pens or resin pens, and then doesn't click? Can we get granular enough to actually shoot out a catalog or a postcard to
Yeah.
2 days later, and then is it cost justifiable to do them onesie twosie at a time, or do you kind of accumulate that together until they hit a number like 50 or 100 people, and then we pack them and ship them together?
No, catalogs we could do one-off, and you can set the rules based. If they only looked at the pink pen page or something, they get the pink pen catalog. I don't know. Yeah, you can do that. I think general rule of thumb in direct mail is like it works for higher AOV products. So a lot of brands will have SKUs that are $20 all the way up to a couple $100, and when they do but they're only going to trigger the catalog or the mailer off the higher AOV pages.
Exactly. Which is basically where we fall into. He could be looking for a Kawaka or Lamy, which is like a $20 pen, or he could be looking at a Mont Blanc, which would be a $400 pen. So it would be worth it for us to send him a postcard.
Yeah, I would say if you're selling like a $20 product, you probably don't want to. I wouldn't recommend starting with direct mail.
But the integration was my main question: is can we depend on the data? We have about 24 years worth of data. That's in our ERP as well as in Shopify. We can throw all that your way.
Yes.
Work based on that.
Yeah, we use segments based off of Klaviyo.
Awesome.
A lot of brands just use us within Klaviyo. Like they won't log into our app. They drag and drop and do stuff in Klaviyo at the end of a flow. Like I'm going to try to email this person today. Next, new user welcome sequence today, next week after. If she hasn't responded to any of those offers, flip them the postcard at the end.
And last question is, we do our own production and design. Is that typical working with somebody like PostPilot, or do you prefer to have everything done with PostPilot?
No, we like to, because I've seen a lot of bad designs. Brands are like, check out what we did. And I was like, that's not going to convert. But it sounds like you've been doing it forever. And I would say like a lot of the apparel brands we work with have been doing it. So it's like more power to you. Just, cool. Use your own. Some brands even have their own catalog and they just buy the audiences from us. So like it's like, hey, we've got our own printer. We know the kind of paper we want to use. And then they'll just use us for the targeting.
Great.
Okay, great.
Pass this
Next
on.
question. Awesome. And over here in the green, and then we'll go over to him after. Sorry. We have time.
Hey, this is a quick question. Like, can you give me a sense of the scalability? Like, let's say I'll just use a round number. I'm spending, $1 million a month on Meta ads. Like, what % of that typically is somebody, relative to that would be like direct mail? Just sense of like scalability.
Yeah, we like to internally. We say like the brands. And we have brands spending millions of dollars on the platform. I would say not per month. I would say like 1% of revenue is like a good rule of thumb. Your ROAS is always going to be better on the retention campaigns versus, just like anything else. It's going to be great on retention, good on retargeting. Prospecting is always going to be probably the lowest. I mean, we've got like Hexclad doing a 4X on cold prospecting. So they're killing it. I do that all day. But other brands, if it doesn't work, we try to do our best to say, like, I don't think it's going to work on this if we don't think it will.